We're live. Hey, everybody. My name is Ken Finnan of Capital Advantage Tutoring, and my job is to get you to pass these damn exams. So feel free to ask me questions. I know that Judith, as I die, Judith and Brian came up with the questions that I'm going to go on. So again, I'm here to help with the SIE exam, the Series 7, the Series 6, the Series 63, and 66. Those are the exams I'm trying to help with. Okay, so let's see what we got here. So, okay, the new Secure Act. Okay, so Brian asked about the new Tax Secure Act. I don't think they're asking questions on that because the tax is secure, tax stuff. The reason is because a friend of mine who's on the committee told me that it takes 18 months to write a question. Every question takes 18 months. So the problem there is that they're not going to write questions through a lot of times specific tax laws because every year the IRA goes up. So they don't say, oh, how much can you put in an IRA? They say you can contribute to the maximum or something like that. So now, the big thing to remember is a couple of things. So I'll hit the 529A enable accounts later. The difference between Class A, B, and C. Let's not go too specific on stuff because interval funds and stuff like that, I'm not really too worried about on the exam. I'll talk about it at the end or a little later, but I will talk about it. So now, he asked about Class A, B, and C. And don't worry, Judith, I do have your questions up on queue. Brian asked Class A, B, and C in mutual funds. So mutual funds, there are three or four ways to get into the fund. I apologize if I'm coughing a lot, but nothing I can do. Okay. 3 ways to get into the fund. So we buy into a mutual fund, and there's 3 ways: Class A, Class B, and Class C. It's all the same fund. It's all going into the same thing. So the same manager, same return, same everything. What's different is how you go in. So I want you to think of this. Class A is on load. You pick Class A, like the first kid in class with the last name letter A, he's always in the front of the line. So Class A will be front end load. You pay your sales charge or sales load as you go in. Okay. So as you go in to the fund, you pay the sales charge. That's Class A. And the thing about that is that it has a lower 12B1 fee, if even at all. And also, the more you put in, the less you pay in sales charge, which is called break points. So break points are the discounts that you get for putting in Class A. The more you put in, the less you have to pay. Class B, think B for back end. Back end is basically going to be, as you leave the fund, you pay on the way out. You don't pay going in. So think B for back end. They might use the word contingent deferred sales charge. That's one they may use, contingent deferred sales charge. So it's basically deferred till you leave. Brianna, I'm going to ask you a question about the 63. We know that you're starting. You are not allowed to ask that question until you read the book. You have to read the book and then we'll talk. You have to read the book, but you have to know the registration of the broker-dealers, agents, and all that. You're not getting a free pass on this. So now, Class B, you pay as you leave. I hope that wasn't her who just left. I was just kidding around. I wasn't that mad. So now, Class B, you pay as you leave the fund. Every year that you stay, they lower the charge that it costs to leave. But you do pay a 12B1 fee, which is that marketing and advertising fee every year. You're paying that. Maybe not the full 1%, but you are paying one. So that's not better because over the long haul, Class A, you pay one time and then not again. It's kind of like the whole thing, like if you have a choice of like either subscription or pay up front, sometimes paying up front is cheaper. It works out. So A, you pay up front. B, you pay as you leave. So the sales charge drops. And then C, a sales load. C is basically an even sales load, like 1% or 0.5% or whatever it is. But you're paying the max 12B1 fee every year. Class C is almost never okay. Class C almost is never okay. Most of my students, when they sell a Class C, they have to do, what do you call it? They have to get permission from their boss to sell them. Okay. Now, real quick, I'm going to do real quick interval fund. All I'm going to say, it's a type of closed-end fund. Again, interval fund, which is probably not on the exam, but it shows up on questions. An interval fund is a closed-end fund where the company will buy back the shares at a price. Okay, they'll buy back a percentage of the shares. That's all you need to know. Don't even worry about it. It's not that big a deal. Okay. Now, basically what happens is once in a while they'll offer to buy back 5, 10%, whatever it is. Okay, so that's one question. Again, Brianna, I was kidding around. What you need to do is worry about the registration of the broker-dealers, the IAs, stuff like that. That's where you're going to have to do most of your work, is on that part of it. Okay, so let's get into other questions. Here we go. So we'll start with her first one. So Judy says, I have a question for you for Tuesday. If you have time and the wish, then hit this one. It says, JTWROS ownership stipulates that a deceased tenant's interest in the account passes blah, blah, blah. Okay. I don't care. I'm going to tell you the rule. So when you have, okay. If, where should past earnings show on the prospectus? Who cares? It's going to be on there. I'm just saying, look, if you saw a question that asked that question, it's a test question. Look, my ADD goes back and forth. Babar, the earnings will be in the prospectus somewhere. It will not show future. That's the big thing. They're very limited in their forward-looking statements. They have to have what they call cautionary language saying, by the way, this may not happen or probably won't. If they asked you where in the prospectus some sort of past earning things would be, there's got to be a fake question, one of the test ones. Now, back to this. These are joint accounts. JTWROS, joint tenants with rights of survivorship. That means me and you and John and Mary can all be part of an account. We are all owners of the account. We all are together owners. If one of the people kick it, all the money transfers to the rest of us. So say there's 5 of us and one dies, now the money's split between 4. If another one dies, it's split between 3. And 2 more die, then I get arrested because I ended up killing all of you. The point is, whoever's left in the account gets it all. So, if I am dying here, hopefully I don't have something from another country. So now, if I have a joint tenants with right, JTWROS, the money, everyone's an owner, the money goes across to the other people in the account. No probate. That's the big thing. No probate, no courts. Okay, now, if it's joint tenants in common, the money goes down. So again, we have an account with 100 grand in it. You have 60 grand of it. I have 40. If I die, my 40 goes to my estate. If you die, your 60 goes to your estate, or your heirs or your beneficiaries. Does not go to me. So it's almost like we have a joint account, but we're side by side, and our money doesn't crisscross. We could both place orders and trade, but if we pass away or die or kick it, the money goes down. So again, rights of survivorship goes across to the other person. Tenants in common drops to the beneficiaries or their heirs. So there might be probate because it goes to their estate. And if they didn't have a good will, then the courts come in and basically rip you off and charge you to figure out where the money should go. The last one is a TOD, okay? Again, like Judy, you worried about the sentences? What I just said is what you need to know. TOD is an individual account. Like say my mom has money and she wants to make sure that I get some of it, so I get it. She will create a TOD. It is her account. And she has a lot of money. And what she does is she wants me to get it, but she doesn't want somebody else to get it. Like my wife, lovely wife I have, I'm just saying. So joint account, it's not a joint account, it's an individual account from Aunt. Say she has $1 million in there. It's her account, I have no control. I'm just like a beneficiary. This is a TOD. When she passes away, then the money transfers to me, no probate. I don't get control of the money until then. I do not get control of the money until she passes away. Then it becomes my money, and we go from there. And remember, if you have an account where it's a discretion or anything, and your client dies, first thing you do is cancel all the open orders. Then you freeze the account, mark it deceased, and wait for the paperwork. You do not freeze it first, because then you can't cancel the orders. So you cancel all open orders, then you freeze the account, then you mark it deceased, and you wait. Okay, so that's 2 questions. Now, in Hood, calculations for risk are heavy on the, no. The 66 does not have a lot of math. None of these tests, other than the 79, has a lot of math. 63, none. Maybe some Roman numerals, but not a lot of math. 66, you may get a couple math questions. You may be the one unlucky one that gets questions, but I'm telling you, they're not making you figure out present value, future value. Maybe a beta question. And beta is just, if it's a beta of 1.5, you just multiply 1.5 times the return, and that tells you what you're supposed to get. That's about it. Okay, Elizabeth, I'm going to go back to your stuff, Judy, but I want to get the live stuff. Elizabeth, how to calculate dividend yield or yield? Okay. Current yield is always annual income divided by the market price. Oh, again, annual income, and so if it's a bond, it's the coupon, or if it's a dividend, it's the quarterly dividends times 4 divided by the current market price. Again, yield for bonds is coupon divided by market price. Yields or dividend yield for stock is the dividend, if it's quarterly, times 4 divided by the market price. So it's always going to be what I'm earning every year divided by divided by the market price. Okay, so I hope that helps, Elizabeth. Let me go back to one more Judy question, then I'll hit you, Babar. Okay, so now, okay. So she had a question about research and ratings. Okay, do not stress that shit. Okay, don't stress it. When it's in, they're not going to make you define how to do ratings. You have to know that if you are going to set up a rating or a ranking or any kind of system that somebody uses automatically, you have to let them know how you came up with it. That's it. So if you come up with a plan that helps people allocate shares or figure stuff out, or graphs to help them trade, you have to let them know you may have difficult understanding this. You have to do that, okay? That's the key one. So you don't have to worry about the research into the nitty-gritty. What you have to know is that if you're going to come up with the ratings or rankings, you just have to explain them. Have a little code about what they mean. Okay. The second question, okay. So if you have, okay, if you have, Matt, yeah, you got to read the chapter like 3 times. Don't worry about the little details. This is not, none of these are detailed tests. It's about understanding the concepts and the suitability that people like corporates know the difference between a GO and a revenue, know what AMT is. It's not, don't remember all the G rules. You're not going to have to. Just remember the suitability and what you can and can't do as a rep. Good, Elizabeth. Judy, I got one more for you. So now, there's 3 levels of communications. There is correspondence, there is retail communication, and there is institutional. Correspondence is 25 or less. If you're sending some sort of IM or email to 25 or less people, you pre-approval for that shit. Basically, they just, what happens is your compliance officer, they have a program that grabs 5% of them and looks for keywords like guaranteed or merger or insider trading, any of the words, which are crap because no one would ever say that. Like, shh, I'm insider trading. They're not saying that. But the keywords are there, and he or she will end up reading a percentage of your emails. That's what a spot check means, okay? That's what it means. So I don't know what you meant by an audit, unless you're talking about what happens is every year, you know, your branch will be, not every year, but every 3 years, a regular branch will be audited by the firm, not FINRA. They come and look at it. They check your books and records. They check your records keeping and stuff like that. That's an audit. That's not the same as a spot check. A spot check is basically we just grab a percentage. And they just read them and they sit at a screen and they go, oh, it all comes in front of them. They look for keywords and just make sure it's not wrong. That's a spot check. That's what correspondence and institutional. So if you're sending all your written materials, like your emails and IMs, to just institutions, which are broker-dealers, mutual funds, stuff like that, it's just a spot check. They just, after the fact, they grab 5%, and then they see. You do not need pre-approval. Now, if you're sending it to more than 25 individuals, whether they are customers or not, remember, whether they are customers or not, you have, just doesn't matter. If they're living, breathing human beings and it's more than 25, you have to get pre-approval before you send any written materials to them. By who? Not by FINRA, by a principal. Remember, FINRA doesn't, no regulator ever approves anything ever. Now, I think that works. Institutional, send it to whoever you want. Spot check, they just kind of take a look at it. Okay. Now, again, an institution is any kind of non-human being who manages money. And there's rules, but they're going to say the word institution. They're not going to make you figure out what it is. Okay. Now, that's the second thing with her. So again, make sure we got it. Correspondence, 25 or less, just a spot check. Retail, more than 25, pre-approval. Now, one more thing on that. If it's interactive, like a public appearance, you can't do pre-approval because you can't predict what the person's going to say in a conversation. So they just check it after, and you have to make sure he's trained. Anything to an institution, spot check, no pre-approval. That's number 2. I'll get to you, Lavar. Now, last one. Okay. If an IRA selling cover, okay. Okay, so here's a question. In an IRA, selling covered calls is permissible. Right. Covered calls you can do at any account. Covered call is when you're long stock and you sell a call. Okay? Okay. The script for a public appearance would need to be approved if you're giving it to people. That's what it is. Okay? That's written in the call. Okay, so now, if it's kind of just a ballpark, like bullet points, no. But if it's an actual written thing, then it would have to be pre-approved. If it's like, I'm reading from this and that's it, you would have to get it pre-approved. Now, in an IRA, selling covered calls is permissible because I know that I can sell covered calls in any account. It's the safest thing ever. If the call is exercised, the investor is obligated to sell the stock. So you're saying, wouldn't the assets then have to leave the account? No, because if I have money, if I have $5,000, say I have 5,000 shares of Apple in my account, and I sell, whatever, covered calls on that, and they get exercised. I'm selling the shares, and now the cash stays in the account. Does that make sense? So it's not leaving the IRA. The shares are leaving, but you're getting cash for it. You can buy and sell. An IRA is just an account that allows you to buy and sell and trade and all that without incurring taxes on your gains until you withdraw it. That's all it is an account. I hope that helps a little. So that's not, what happens is it does not come out of the account, so you don't pay. I mean, I have an IRA, you just buy and sell. You can do cover calls. You buy, you sell, you leave it in cash, you do whatever you want. As long as the money doesn't come out of the IRA and you get it personally, you're not going to pay the penalty. Okay. Now, Bular, can you briefly talk about defined benefit versus defined contribution? No, of course I can. So, a defined contribution plan. Also, Brianna, if you're still on, I just started doing Series 63 videos. I have 3 done so far. Get on them. I don't want to hear from anyone until you watch those videos and shared them and liked them and made me feel good. Now, defined contribution versus defined benefit. These are retirement plans. A defined contribution plan is like a 401k. It's really a KEO, but think of it as a 401k. You know what's going into the account. So what happens is, who does the spot checks? The principal does. Nobody can do anything other than the principal. There you go. Now, again, ADD, I apologize. But live is, you get what you get. Live TV, producers love. Now, defined contribution, you know what they're putting into the account every year. So if you're 401k and they're going to put in 4% of your salary every year, you know it's going in. But you have no idea what it's going to be when you retire. So if you're 22 and they put in $5 grand now, that could be $700,000 when you retire, or it could be 500, or it could be 2 million. We don't know what the return is, but the obligation stops at what they put in. So if I'm the company and I say I'm going to put in, match your salary, whatever your contribution is, I'm putting it in, and I don't care if you fuck it up and you screw it up and you don't grow very well, that's on you, not the company. Okay. Now, if it's a defined benefit, is like my friend is an iron worker. He works for the iron worker. They told him, every year that you work, we will pay you $200 a month for the rest of your life until you die. They're defining his benefit. So that means if he does 20 years, and that's where it caps off at, if he does his 20 years and doesn't get killed and fall off a building, sorry, he will get $4 grand a year, $4 grand a month for the rest of his life. They're defining his benefit. Does he care what they're putting in for him now? No, they don't give a shit. They don't care at all. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care. He goes, I don't care what they do as long as I know that I'm getting $400 a month or whatever it is for the rest of my life. Now, you may not know exactly what you're getting, but you're knowing the benefit. Like if you work for a lot of towns in Jersey and all that, they will pay you like 30% of your last 3 years' salary for the rest of your life. They're defining your benefit. Are they telling you exactly the number? No, but they're telling you what your benefit's going to be, but you don't know what's going in. On a defined contribution, you put money in, and maybe they match or they don't, or they put money in. You know what they're putting in, but you have no idea what it's going to be in the future because you're going to invest it and it's going to grow at a rate. I hope that helps. Okay. So Matt, that's a good question. So I'm going to get back to you on that. Gabar, yes. A pension plan, like the ones they do now in companies aren't really the same thing. But yes, a pension plan, if you worked for like a corporation, like GM or GM and stuff like that, yes. That's a defined benefit because they just say, listen, you do your 20 years here, we'll pay you for the rest of your life. My grandfather on my wife's side, he worked for Kohler. He loved Kohler because he said every month they're writing him a check. And he was 94 years old. He was still getting money, never worried about running out of money. He had a rent control apartment, ridiculously in Scarsdale, New York, paying like nothing. I wish I had kept it. But his pension was paying him every month. Okay. Now, Matt, as I've said to everyone, I am not working for STC. But as of this moment, still, they have the best stuff. I don't get any money from them. I'm working on it, but I have it. But Kaplan is fine, but they go way too much into the freaking details. They go into the woods. Past Perfect does the same thing. Kaplan does the same thing. Notman is a version of Kaplan. Notman is a reseller of Kaplan. So Notman's fine. They have their own stuff they add. If you have Notman, don't go say, oh, I'm going to buy Kaplan questions to supplement because you're going to get the same questions. You could go to you could probably go to Past Perfect to buy questions or something. But the problem with Kaplan and Past Perfect is they go deep, deep in the weeds. So they go, oh, it's G35. They go, what's G35? I have no freaking idea what G35 is. But I know that well, let's see. Hold on. Let's take a little second. I'll probably know what it is if you tell me the other part of it. Okay. I don't even have to go that high. Maybe they don't. Okay. Nope, they don't. Oh, MSRB rules. It's arbitration. If you talk to me about arbitration, I know that, yeah, so there's G up to 48, okay? You don't need to know what they are. And most of them kind of overlap with FINRA rules. Like you have to have, if you have a bank, a broker-dealer in the back of a bank, you have to make sure they're separated. You have to make basically standards of professional qualification. That means you have to take the exam, the 7. That's G2. Who cares? So we don't care about the numbers. We care about what they are. So, Matt, don't sweat the little tiny details. You do have to know it. So this is my rule on how to remember. If you think the client needs to know it, you better fucking know it. If you think they don't, you need to know pretty much about it. Yeah, I hope my cursing isn't making people believe, but it is what it is. All the G rule, there's 48 G rules. There's no way they would ever ask you to memorize them. You need to know, like, how much you can give to a politician. What's considered a gift? What's considered entertainment? Stuff like that. Can you bribe a mutual fund to give you business to sell that by getting them investors? No. So I'm going to explain that one. If Masaka, how are you? Masako, sorry. If you are a sales trader and you're doing institutional business, you get business from like mutual funds and hedge funds, and they give you orders to execute and you charge a commission. You can't go to a mutual fund and say, you cannot go to a mutual fund and say, hey, listen, I'll get you investors if you give me orders. That's a bribe. That's pay to play in a way. That you can't do. That's what it is, okay? That's one of the things you're going to see a question on. Another one is, how much can you contribute to a person's campaign? If you can vote for the individual. Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Just tell people, that's all. I am so close to 1,000. I am like 60 people away from 1,000. If everyone told 3 people, I'd be done. Okay, so now, just kidding around. I'm not begging for it, but I am. Okay. Okay. So if yeah, thank you, Babar. Brianna, I've been working with. We got it through the SIE and the 6. She rocked the 6 last week. Destroyed it. I know we don't show a score, but she went in there a little nervous and she came out. But thank you for saying such nice things. Some of my students I'm getting from YouTube or whatever. It's great. So let's keep on this. How much can I contribute to a political campaign? I can give $250 per election, not per year, per election. So if I give $250 to, like, so just say pretend I live in New York City. If I give 250 to, I'm so glad I don't remember his name, de Blasio. Ugh, I would never do that. But if I gave $250 to de Blasio, if you give, oh, by the way, Judith, I answered it. I said the principal. I did throw it out there. The principal does spot check. There's nobody else who ever does anything. It's always a principal. I'll see if I can get to the retirement thing. Now, if I want to give money to a politician, I can give $250 per election. Now, I'm married. If I have a joint account and we both sign it, then it's $250. It's half and half. But if I just sign it, the entire check. So if I write a $400 check and me and my wife both sign it, it's $200 each. I'm under. If I write a $400 check and I forget that my wife signed and it's just me, the entire $400 is me and I committed a violation. It's not like they kill you. It's just, if you give more than $250 per election to a person you can vote for, then you can, how do you explain this way? Then you cannot do their underwriting business for the negotiated underwriting business, which is revenue really, for the next 2 years, nor can your firm, or even if you leave the next firm within that 2 years. So they don't kill you, but they just say you can't do their business anymore. Now, what if since I live in Jersey actually, and I did give money in a fit of insanity to de Blasio's campaign, since I can't vote for him, I can give him not one penny. I cannot give one single penny to a competitor, to a politician that I cannot vote for. In their mind, that comes out to be bribery. Because why would I give money to a mayor of New York when I live in Jersey? There are reasons, but in their mind, there are none. So now Judy said there was another question on retirements. See if I can find it. It's not that one. There's one. It's the second one, and I'm missing. Hold on. I cannot find it. Anybody have questions while I'm looking and I'm boring the hell out of you? So, where's my starred questions? That's right, okay. That's the same one. Hey, Judith, can you text it to me? Because I can't find it. And then with Brian, listen, don't sweat the 529A and the ABLE. ABLE is for, the ABLE account is for disabled kids. Like it gives them money to handle stuff. Okay, and basically 529A is the same thing. So 529A ABLE accounts, that's what it is for, it helps basically, so basically to use for disabled children, and it lets you grow money so that you can give them money and it can grow so you don't have to pay taxes on it. I hope that helps. I need to find the other one. I keep hitting that same one. Yeah, I love Gmail, but sometimes it just, I can't get through it and I can't find. Sometimes I search. It's all that. But again, Judy, if you're on here, can you retype it or even re-email it? I don't really care, but I cannot find it. There's Brian. He's done. Judy. Oh, IRA questions. Hold on. Maybe that's it. Okay. No, again, research reports. How do I keep going to that? Okay. Okay. Always go, and it's not importers by puts. Okay. Look, Epic. So good. Judy, if you can text it while we're doing it, please do it. If you're not on, we'll talk about it next time. So Epic is for foreign. Okay. If I go over, if I'm a foreign exporter, if I'm a U.S. exporter, sorry, if I'm a U.S. exporter, if I'm a U.S. exporter, I am afraid that the foreign currency will drop and people can't buy the stuff. So I will buy puts on the foreign currency. Remember, you cannot buy options on the dollar because we're the shit. We are the dollar. We are it. Everyone's pegged to us. Okay? That's what that. So if you're going to buy an option, it is always on the other currency. So if you're a U.S. exporter, you buy puts on the foreign currency. If you are an importer, you buy calls on the foreign currency. Okay? Okay. If you are a foreign exporter, you cannot buy puts on the foreign dollar, on the U.S. dollar. So you buy calls on. So it's really EKIP. I say, this is the way I do. I say, what would the U.S. exporter do? So a U.S. exporter will buy puts on the foreign currency. So a foreign exporter would buy calls on the foreign currency. They do exactly the opposite. So if a U.S. importer would buy calls on the foreign currency, the foreign importer would buy puts on the foreign currency, never the freaking dollar. Okay. Okay. Babar, go back. I just did 10 minutes on that stuff on the advertising. Because technically advertising is never allowed without firm's approval because it's retail communication. Over-the-counter trade, are you asking what it means? Over-the-counter just means it's not on an exchange. That's all it means. It means it's not on an exchange, so it's not as liquid. There's liquidity issues, okay? So what happens is if I buy something that trades over the counter, like a marijuana stock or something like that, okay, thank you. If I buy like a marijuana stock, one of the ones that are over the counter, okay, there's liquidity issues. That's the problem, okay? Oh, I do. It was the one I kept looking at. Okay. Oh, you're talking about you're talking about the details? No, I just did it like 5 minutes ago. Hey, you get to rewatch my video. If you go back, I did it. Look, the best way to do it is to look in the beginning. Okay. Again, over the counter is over the counter. There's liquidity. It's not on an exchange. That's the pink sheets and the bulletin boards. I'm getting hammered now. Okay, Nicole. So she asked a question about, I'm not going to go heavy into options, but I will talk about it here. If you buy a straddle, long straddle, that means you buy a call and buy a put. A short straddle is sell a call, sell a put. So buy a call, buy a put, that's a long straddle. Because if you buy a call, you want the stock to go up. If you buy a put, you want it to go down. So if you want it to go up or down, I don't care. And you have two break evens. So what you're going to do is if you buy a 50 call at 3, and then you buy a 50 put at 4, you've spent $7. You need to make that $7 back somehow. The only way to make money is back so you can profit. So you will have, this is the only thing that has two break evens. So you're going to add them up. So you're going to go, since a buy and a buy, you add. So I'm going to buy the $. I buy the put at 4, that's 7 total. So I'm going to have $7. So I goes 50 up to 7, that's 57. And 50 down 7, that's 43. So my two break evens are 57 and 43. 57 and 43. So now what happens is I needed to go outside that range. Everything. So the way we figure this out is when you're doing profit loss, they're going to give you a market price. You do that to the closest break even. So we know it needs to go outside the range, above 57 or below 43. So if the stock, it goes to 55, it didn't reach that. It stayed inside. And since it's 2 points away from the closest break even at 57, it's a $2 something. But since it didn't go beyond the 57, it's a loss. If the stock went to 59, it'd be $2 farther than the 57, so it's a $2 gain. Same thing on the lower side. Say the stock goes to 40. Well, it's $3 below the break even at 43. So that's a $3. And outside the range, it's a gain. If it was 45, it'd be $2 in the range, and it'd be a loss of 2. So again, when I buy a straddle, I'm long a straddle, I want to go outside the range. I'm going to find the closest break even, and then I'm going to take the market price compared to that break even, and that's going to be my number. Now, then the question comes down to, is it a gain or a loss? Well, if it's a long straddle, if it's outside above the higher one or below the lower one, then it's a gain. If it's inside, it's a loss. If it's a short straddle where you sold both instead, same break evens, but you want it to be inside. So you still do the same number to the closest break even, and however far it is away from that, that's what you do. Okay. Yes, short straddle you want inside the range, long straddle you want outside. Okay, so I think somebody else has a question. Okay, anyway, advertising, I'm going to do it real quick, even though we did it. Correspondence, no pre-approval. Advertising is a type of retail communication. You need pre-approval by who? The principal. And institutional, you don't need it. Okay. And the difference between sales literature and advertising, sales literature is you know who you're sending it to. It could be a million people, but you know who you're sending it to. Advertising is you're putting a billboard up or skywriting or commercial. You can't control who's seeing it. Both of them are considered retail, but it has to be pre-approval. Okay. So the example of institutional investors that play benefit plan. Okay. I don't know if that's your question. See, hold on. You know what? You texted me. That's better. I'll read it that way. Because I am a moron. Yeah, that's way too freaking detailed. Don't worry about that, Judy. Don't worry about. They'll tell you what an institution is. They will. I already talked about defined benefit and defined contribution. Don't worry about that. So you need to know that a 403B, who's it for? It's for nonprofits and teachers and shit like that. Okay. 457 is for state governments and school teachers for real places. 401K is for corporations, non-exempt, private corporations. I think I answered all the questions. Is that what I did? Did I get through all of them? It only took me 37 minutes. Not too shabby. Any last questions? Please, if you're taking the exams, like, subscribe, and tell people about them. Share it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, they're all institutional, but it doesn't matter. That's not. Yeah, they're not. It doesn't matter because they're not going to ask me, Matt. They're not going to care. It's not a question they could ask. Woof. I've done it before. Matt, look at my older ones. There's no such thing as a quick tax rundown except for one thing. I'd be here all night. Okay. Brianna, I'm the only reason I'm not answering your question. You have to watch my videos first and read the PowerPoint I sent. Okay. You need to read first before you do anything because you can ask on questions, but it can't be a what's important because I just told you it's local. It's all the laws. So you have to know what a broker-dealer is. You have to know what an agent is. You have to know what an IAR is, an IA. You have to know what securities are. You have to know what the exempt securities are. It's 63 questions, and I don't know freaking where they are. Seriously, like I know what the SIE, I go, look, it's risks and all that. With this top off, I know that it's options, munis, and taxes and stuff like that. The 63 is a face punch, okay? But we're going to do this. We're going to have you done by Monday. We are. I promise you. Okay. So now, but you need to read. So you need to get off this thing and get reading the PowerPoint I sent you. Go take care of your cute little baby and then get reading. Okay. So now, taxes. I'm going to do very quickly. Capital. Everything's down to capital gains. You too. 3 things. Okay. It looks like my connection is unstable. My connection went unstable for a second. I don't know if you heard that. So there are everything's ordinary income except for 3 things. 1, a buy and a sell. It's a capital gain. If you hold it for more than a year, it's taxed. If it's a year or less, then it's taxed just like the ordinary income. Option expiration is either a capital gain or capital loss, but it's always short term because options are only 9 months long. Then the third one is a mutual fund making a capital gain distribution that is always, always, always long term. Even if you buy a fund the week before and you get the money, it's considered long term. Now, cost basis is what you paid. Proceeds are what you sell it for. The difference is your gain, and that's what you're taxed on if it's more than your cost basis. You got to look for stuff, and We can always, if you want to ask tax stuff, you got to ask specific questions. So do that, and then we can jump. You can do Tuesday night. If you have a loss, a capital loss, you can use that to offset capital gains for you to pay less taxes. But if you have more losses than you have gains, you can use $3,000 of that against your ordinary income. I just said I wasn't going to do it, and now I'm doing it. You can use $3,000 of your losses to reduce your income. So what's coming up in the next couple months? You're going to be paying your taxes. If you have a capital loss in 2019, you can reduce, yes, you can reduce your income by $3,000 a year. It's like a deduction, like your IRAs and all that expenses. Yes, Babar, annuities, anything, if you see anything other than the three things I said, or other than the same thing I said, it's ordinary income. But always know that all retirement and deferred accounts are always, always ordinary income. Think of it this way. The IRS has been waiting 20 years to tax your ass. Why would they give you a better rate? Because understand, long-term capital gains are taxed at like a 15 or 20% top. Where look at your paychecks. You're bringing home like 55, 60% of your paycheck. It means you're paying almost 40% in taxes. That's ordinary income. Capital gains is 15. If I make 10 grand now, I bring home $5,500 because my kids are getting older. I have a high tax bracket. But if I do a capital gain and I make 10 grand and it's long term, I bring home $8,500 because it's only 15 or 20%. Big difference. You want long-term capital gains. Last thing on this, short sales are always short term. So if you have a short sale, it is always short term. Please, Series 7 exam, SIE exam, Series 24, Series 63, all that stuff. I'm happy to help you out. Please like and subscribe. If you want lessons, come in. I promise not to yell at you too much. Other than that, I'm going to probably come up with another Series 63 test thing on Thursday. I'm going to try to keep doing more and more videos because once I hit 1,000, that I don't mind doing videos more because I can make money without taking a penny from you guys. And then you just enjoy it. You just have to watch a freaking ad for 30 seconds, and then you get all my magic, my gold. Okay. Everyone, have a good night. Go get off, get some sleep, and leave some nice stuff in my comments. I will talk to you later. Feel free to go to my website, take a look at stuff I offer, not a lot. Also, anyone studying for the SIE, you can go on the link on my website and see Achievable. Brianna used it. She said she loved it. It was a great supplement to what she was learning. It's only for the SIE. They don't have a top off, I don't think, till March. So I feel good telling you go to STC for the other stuff. And let me make one thing clear. I know I keep saying goodbye. If you use the other vendors, Kaplan, Notman, Pest Perfect, Training Consultants, you're still going to be fine. If you didn't hear me say the name, so it's STC, Kaplan, Notman, Training Consultants, and Pest Perfect. Those you're safe doing. You're not going to have a problem. AD Banker, Fire Solutions, Exam FX, run. Okay. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night and get some sleep.